Are you ready to take control of your own health? Do you want to create a plan that will improve your health and vitality without the use of synthetic drugs or needless surgery? Hi, this is Dr. Tom Roselle. I would like to invite you to join me and the Roselle Center for Healing for an information, fun-filled day that will change the state of your health and quality of life. Ageless Health 2011 will provide you with the resources to begin your journey towards being stronger, having greater physical performance, and living longer without impairment, pain, or disease. Ageless Health is about realizing that your health is a do-it-yourself program. You can have it all. Ageless Health 2011 is your first step towards creating and enhancing your natural health plan. Register today to reserve your seat.
Ageless Health 2011 is September 17th at the Fairview Park Marriott. Learn more at rosellcare.com. Don't miss out Ageless Health 2011. Register today. Call 703-698-7117. 703-698-7117.
Dr. Tom Roselle live right now, 630 WMAL.
Welcome to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I am live in studio on this absolutely fantastic, maybe a little bit of thunderstorm. Happy 4th of July weekend. We're here in studio, and I'd love to take your phone calls on any subject that you have in mind. Perhaps you've had a problem and you've tried, you applied, and guess what? You haven't come up with anything that actually works. So let me help you with that, and let's see if we can put you in a direction of resolution. Number here is 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Let's talk. I have a couple of things I want to discuss with you today that I think you're going to find of interest, things that kind of indigenous to the Washington metropolitan area. We're going to talk about stress, all those things that eat you up. And we're going to talk about iodine, and we're going to talk about some other nutrients that are absolutely essential to the maximization of your health. So we can get through all of that, plus your questions. I think we'll have a really good show today and make you sit there for the entirety. I want to remind you, as we have over the last couple of weeks, that on June the 23rd, there was a new broadcast, something that came out on MTV on their True Life program. And what it was all about was our treatment of a young woman in Fairfax, and the program was dubbed I'm Allergic to Everything. And it compared, which we didn't know at the time, her journey in integrative care of what we were doing and the journey of a young man out of Houston, Texas. And when this young woman came to us, she had been in many different medical facilities and some of the best in the country, and nobody could help this girl. She'd go into anaphylaxis, and she would go into seizure patterns with certain exposures to certain things. So, the bottom line is that she's in great shape, and we're delighted. She's going to college in the fall. We're really happy. And a couple of weeks, by the way, she's going to be my guest on Dr. Tom Roselle Live. But until then, go into our website at rosellcare.com. That's ROSELLECARE.com, and go down to the right border, the right side of the homepage. Go all the way down, and you're going to see a link, and just tap it, and the whole program is there. It's 40 minutes without commercials, so sit back and enjoy it. And by the way, send us a note. I would love to have your opinion, and you can do that by going to rosellcare.com. Write me and tell me what you think about it. But in the meantime, let's talk about all kinds of things. We're going to talk about stress patterns today because they have such a profound effect on everything that goes on in your body, but particularly your immune system. Your immune system is subject to many things that we don't even consider. When we look at any kind of problem in the body, we look at structural, chemical, emotional stresses. We're going to talk about stresses as they relate to that and disease processes and the like. And I think you're going to find out that truly your health is a do-it-yourself program, which many of you know is the title of my book, and I had to say that to you, but you need to pick that up, right? And it gives you a guideline, a textbook, a map, a roadmap of how to change things in your life. Wouldn't you like to do that? Wouldn't you like to have control? Well, that's what this program's about today, because you're out there playing and you're not sure if you're going to eat a whole bunch of junk today, or if you're not going to eat anything today, or if you're going to, just kind of stress it out and get burned and yada, yada, yada. But anyway, I'm rambling, but I'm doing that on purpose. So let's talk about stress, and then we're going to go to the phones, because many of you are already on the line. You're already ready to ask a question, but Let's talk about treatment of stress. Let's talk about what stress is and figure out how it affects everybody. You know, the physiology of stress is amazing. It's estimated that about 75 to 90% of all visits to primary care doctors, allopathic physicians, are related to stress. And it's either acute or it's been chronic, long-standing. Interesting article, October 2008, the American Psychology Association, the APA, released a article, and it said that America claims that 8 out of 10 Americans, 8 out of 10, have problems with chronic stress patterns. And this is up from 66% 6 months earlier. So what happened to that period of time? Well, it was June 2008. I don't know. We have to roll the clock back. I think it's because the economy crashed, and we ended up with that emotional, that psychological stress pattern. But remember, there's 3 sources of stress. You have the physical stress, you know, the slings and arrows of all the stuff that you do or don't do to your body, when you beat yourself up and you don't take care of it, or you don't do the things on any level athletically that you should be doing. And whether you're, 5 years old or whether you're 95 years old, you should be doing something physically for your body. Chemistry. All those things that you eat that go into your body, or all those things that you breathe that go into your body, all those things that you absorb through your skin, anything that is outside that goes in has a problem. And then the emotional piece. The body doesn't know the difference between an actual event and something that you think about. The physiology is the same, absolutely the same. Now, stress responses have evolved from a theory of what we call fight-flight response. And what that really means is that you have the capacity in anything that goes on in your life of either fighting something or running away from it. So, what do? Thousands of years ago, if you were confronted with a tiger that was going to eat you, you'd probably either get a club and beat it, or you would run away from it. You don't have an option. Either that or you become lunch. In today's world, you have those constant insults as well, but they don't come in the form of a physical tiger, but they come in a metaphorical tiger. You have the mortgages, you have the debts, you have your boss screaming in your face, you have children that you're trying to do all kinds of things for, the combination of all those things, and that's your tiger, and it affects your whole physiology. You have these organ systems, or actually 2, that's right, organ systems, called the adrenal glands, and they're 2 little ductless glands that sit on top of the kidneys, and they squeeze like a sponge the different hormones, and their hormones are adrenaline. We now call it norepinephrine and epinephrine response patterns, and we have androgens. They help produce and stimulate the sex hormones. We have something called glyconeogenesis that it stimulates. That's the handling of blood sugar, blood pressure regulation, angiotensin, and if that system has been beat up over a period of time, guess what happens? You start breaking down. You start showing symptoms. So we have to look at the physiology of this fight-flight mechanism and how it affects you, because so much of what we do, and they're saying in the literature that up to 90% of everything that happens to you is due to stress response patterns in systems that are getting knocked down and beat up and so forth. Within seconds, literally seconds, maybe even less than that, of any kind of event, acute stressful event, and there's argument that anything can be stressful, norepinephrine is released and adrenaline is released from the nerve endings of your body, and for a rapid response, and then the adrenal glands release epinephrine and norepinephrine into the bloodstream, so it kind of modulates itself in what we talked about as that fight-flight response. But if it didn't do that, you're going to get eaten by the tiger. So you've got some things to do. See, what happens when you're in a state of stress all the time, all the blood goes away from the internal part of your body. It goes away from the heart, and it goes away from the lungs, it goes away from the kidneys and the stomach and the intestinal tract, and it goes to your muscles. Because your muscles have got to have the oxygen, they have to have nutrients, they have to have all those things to help protect you and fight the tiger. And otherwise, you don't have that capacity. So if you're watching the tube and you're watching the talking heads and they're really aggravating you and irritating your butt, right? So you're going to be in that fight-flight response. So there's no blood to your stomach. There's no blood to your intestinal tract, so you don't digest anything. And when you don't digest anything, your body is going to take all that stuff, and it's just going to shove it down the tube without digesting it, and it's going to rot. And then you absorb all the toxins that go in your system. But more importantly, your blood pressure, your heart rate are continuing to stay at a very high level, and nothing is getting repaired in your system. Now, stress-associated behaviors in our society are plentiful. All you got to do is look around you, we can talk about overeating. Okay, so when we're really stressed out, some of us put the fire out by wanting to eat something. We just keep shoveling our mouth full of stuff. We smoke cigarettes. We smoke cigars. We drink too much. We start putting the alcohol away. Sometimes we just skip meals. I can't eat. My stomach is too tight. I can't put any nourishment in it. And sometimes we just begin to shut down our fatigue levels. We don't want to deal with things. We lay awake at night. Our brain is constantly working. We can't shut it off. There's this conversation going on. And then we get angry. We get irritable. Those are all stress-associated behaviors. You talk to somebody, they want to bite you. Well, you back down and say, well, that's not like that person. What's going on in their life? And when we talk about the endocrine organ systems, the response to stress, what we have to understand is that there are several, not just the adrenal glands. There's a little bugger in your brain called the hypothalamus. A lot of people call this the master gland in the brain because it responds to stress by releasing other hormones. It triggers the response. It signals the pituitary gland, to release adrenal stimulating hormones and other things. The response to stress is very complex in its feedback cycle, but it's important to understand that there is this feedback cycle that continues to go on. And unless we are cognizant that we actually are destroying ourselves and breaking our bodies down, there's actually nothing we can do about it. So, well, it's just the way it is. Well, we're going to talk about some of the cells that are affected. We're going to talk about some of the tissues that are affected and why some of you come up with debilitating diseases and degenerative diseases and cancers and so forth when you say that I've been doing a lot of things the right way, but in fact, your stress load has been just knocking the heck out of your immune system. It's been suppressing your neurological reactions, and nothing is working at the levels that it should. So the good news is that the sooner you get it, you can fix it. Because until you really realize that you are responsible, you can't fix anything. Stress and emotions that are associated with some significant disease patterns are reversible. Cancer, heart disease. Article that was written by the Mayo Clinic reported that a lot of folks out there that have existing coronary artery disease has nothing to do with diet. Has to do with their stress level. The plaquing has to do with stress. Stress will increase inflammation. Remember we talked about this repetitively over and over and over again? Well, not only cardiovascular disease, but cardiac events, including heart attacks and the end product, death. I mean, some of you, the first sign that you're ever going to have a heart attack is you're going to be dead. And the cost is extremely ridiculous. It goes up to $10,000 per event. Now, you multiply that because of a little stress factor, and you say, okay, now we've got something going on here that we have to do something about. The research is straight up, and nobody's talking about how to vent and deal with stress. There's something called the normative aging study, which was kind of interesting, and it provided tremendous evidence that was associated the risk, if you will, of coronary disease and heart attack and the different emotional states, things like worry and things like anxiety and anger, and the list can go on from there, but you have to know, more importantly, how those things affect. We can go into the comparative studies one to the other, but they do affect the system. But that loop that we're talking about, there's something called the HPA axis that we see all the time in our office, and that's the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the adrenal glands. And there's this loop, and it gets beat up all the time. The adrenal glands are responsible for the production of secretory IgA antibody, and that's your first line of defense in a lot of different things. If this mechanism isn't working the way it's supposed to, then your body begins to break down. We're going to get into that a little bit more, but also we're going to get to our phones because so many of you are already calling, and I don't want to be negligent, and I want to be respectful to you, so we will get to that.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I am in studio on this 4th of July weekend at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you on any subject that you have in mind. And I'm going to go to the phones, and we're going to talk to Paul. Paul, how can I help you, sir?
Good morning, Dr. Roselle.
Sir.
I wonder if you could give some advice or some of your wisdom on comparing a standard SSRI treatment for anxiety and depression versus two supplements that I've heard are also good, which one of them is SAM-E, and the other one is ginkgo biloba.
Ginkgo is okay. We'll talk about that. So your question is on SAM-E?
Well, the question is, if you were to compare, the standard SSRIs, which if you read the things, the little brochure that comes with it has so many side effects. If you were to, the effectiveness of the SSRIs and the downside, the dangers compared with SAM-E.
Well, SAM-E, you're dealing with adenosylmethionine. It's a common product, and it's what it is. It's a methyl group product, and without getting into the chemistry, it has an effect on several different mechanisms within the body. And you're right. The other mechanisms or the other medications that are used, and that's not the topic I want to get into relative to their benefits. I mean, some of these things will obviously cause in a short term a shift in emotional pathways and depression, but the end product, the serious side effects, including suicide, are not really cool. So let's talk a little bit about SAM-E and give you my opinion on that to begin with. It's a product that has been in the integrative world for a long time. It's affectionately called SAM or SAM-E, but what we're talking about here is a substance that has profound effects on serotonin and dopamine pathways within the body. It's required for most cellular function, and it acts as the beginning stage of the production of several hormones and the neurotransmitters that affect mood. Again, dopamine, serotonin being the two primary elements. Is responsible for other pathways that affect the signaling of what we call RNA. RNA is ribonucleic acid. It's the messenger that allows cells to work properly, and sometimes what we're getting is a miscommunication in the brain and other cells, so the body's emotional pathways get crazy, if you will. Now, the therapeutic use of SAM-E as a dietary supplement has been around since the early 90s, and it has gone through the Food and Drug Administration without any problem because they look at it as basically a non-event, but the good news is that it works really well. Now, the thing that is, and what we've found over the years, is that it becomes far more effective when you use B12 and folic acid together, but particularly the hydroxy form, initially to bring down inflammatory response patterns, but this is one of the few times I'll actually use a methylated form of B12. And the ratio of B12 to folic acid that we use is 2 parts B12 to 5 parts folic acid. And when you give supplementation, the tablets are out there anywhere between 400 and 1,000 milligrams. We usually start in the neighborhood of about 500 and give it 3 times a day. And again, please, and I'm going to codicil this, don't just go out and do that because this substance has such profound physiological effects. I don't want you just going out and taking a bunch of it. You really need to have it monitored, and I don't want you to go off of any of your medication and try to substitute this. It has to be done in a very, very specific way. Otherwise, you could cause yourself some problems because withdrawing from the SSRIs are if you don't do them properly, can cause all the side effects that you read about, in the physician's desk references. Now, because it deals with methyl pathways in the body, you have to be very careful that you have other substances along with it. Besides B12 and folic acid, you have to have B6. And what we're dealing with here is keeping homocysteine under control. Homocysteine is a poison to the body, and it will cause hardening of the arteries, and it causes perpetuation of things experientially in a lot of literature, from heart attacks to strokes to liver damage. And there's some thought process out there that it actually will cause Alzheimer's disease. So you have to support that and also increase the vitamin B complexes around it. Now, there are some side effects, but they're mild. They can cause suppression of appetite, a little bit of constipation with it, sometimes some sweating, a little bit of nervousness. That's why you have to make sure that the therapeutic dose is monitored very, very specifically. And it's a gentle exchange. Now, when we deal with a patient, because our practice is an integrative care practice and we don't use drugs and we don't use surgery, if a patient comes into our practice and they're on any of the psychogenics, we work with the patient's doctor to work a program that we can exchange the stuff. But the serotonin pathways are important. And by the way, most serotonin is produced in the intestinal tract. So your dietary pathways are important, and how they affect this, toxic levels and so forth have to be considered.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I'm in studio on this 4th of July weekend at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630 WMAL. Love to talk to you on any subject you have in mind. Talking about stress. We had a caller, Paul, that called in, and we talked a little bit about SAMe and its applications and substitutions for SSI. The one thing that I want, or the SSI. So anyway, SSRIs. The one thing that I want to get across to Paul is this: if you're on any kind of psychogenics, do not just substitute this willy-nilly. It's dangerous. You have to make sure that there's an exchange. And remember what I said is that serotonin and dopamine pathways start in the intestinal tract, and you have to look at diet. You have to look at diet and making sure that intestinal system is working the way it's supposed to. If we can be of help, and Paul, if you'd like more information, obviously you dropped out, so get a hold of me at rosellcare.com and send me a note, and I'll be more than happy to go back and forth with you. I'd like to remind all of you that when we talk about medications of any sort, I want you to understand that I can give you the nutritional pathways that are workable and that they will do a profound job. But when we talk to you on the air, you're not our patient, and you have your own physicians out there, and it's important that we work together and allow you to shift from one to the other. We will be more than happy to produce the evidence, so we can educate not only you but the physicians that you're working with. It's our job, and we're here to help you in any possible way that we possibly can. We're talking about stress mechanisms, and we're talking about structural, chemical, emotional pathways as it results in the body breaking down to stress. We talked about the internal mechanism that is destroyed when stress is constant, meaning that your organ systems aren't going to work the way they're supposed to. So this HPA axis that we talked about, this hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, is the whole feedback loop. It's the whole cascade that is there. Your immune system is so intricately interwoven. When you have something that's going to attack your immune system, whether it's leukemia, whether it's cancer, whether it's degenerative disease, natural killer cells, and briefly they'll call them NK, they have an activity within the system that help the body resolve things. And stress destroys it, destroys the ability of the NK cell activity, particularly in breast cancer patients. There's tremendous amount of information that's out there. Chronic stress preceding an acutely stressful event can significantly impact the NK cell activity. Several studies examined two different groups, one experiencing chronic stress and a second relatively stress-free life, and a single acutely stressful event resulted by both groups in damage and higher peak levels of epinephrine, which we call adrenaline, right, and more pronounced immediate reduction in the NK cell activity. So when you start getting that peak, you got a problem, and the body begins to break down. It's not a good thing. You have to learn how to control stress. There's something called secretory IgA antibody, and that's the stuff that comes out of your mucus. And It's the single most important aspect of immune function, and it's not only in your mouth, but it's in your digestive system, in your lungs, in your urinary tract, and other body cavities as well. And when it goes down, when it declines and it decreases, your resistance to any kind of microbial pathogen is more significant. So when you don't have these IgA antibodies in the mucus secretion, you're going to get sick. And when you get sick, you're going to stay sick longer. High levels of different hormones like epinephrine are significantly associated with IgA response. So if you're constantly in a state of stress, you always want to rip somebody's head off, you have tight skin, you're going to have problems. If you don't have a sense of humor, if you can't laugh at things, if you have negative emotions, you're going to decrease your IgA antibody. It's important to smile. It's important to laugh. It's important to do those things. And the data is there. Not only that, but your good flora, the stuff that's supposed to keep you healthy in your intestinal tract, that goes away too. Let's go to the phones. Diane, how can I help you? Thank you for calling.
Hi, I'm calling about my mother. She's a 76-year-old woman who has developed nystagmus in about the past 5 or 8 years. She also always has a feeling of full eustachian tubes in her ears, and she complains about, like, vibrations in her head. She feels like her head is always moving. Today she's getting a little bit of flashes in her eyes, and we've been to several doctors, and one doctor has suggested that she has neuropathy and that it has started in the head. Another doctor has suggested that her blood vessels in her head are too tight and constricted and causing some of these issues.
Boy, a lot of good mapping, huh?
Yeah. So we're kind of all over the place.
I guess.
I'm wondering if chiropractic care wouldn't help her if maybe she's got degenerative discs in her neck.
Tremendously. Let me kind of give you the background on something like this. First, let me ask you a couple of questions. Has she had any injuries to her body?
Just as a child, she remembers falling and hitting her head.
Okay. If the spine begins to degenerate because of either injury or dietary imbalances or even stress patterns that we're talking about now where the disc spaces don't move and they begin to break down, at the lower part of the brain stem where the upper part of the neck, the cervical spine meet, that area controls all of these things, and it will allow the head to feel full because the cerebral spinal fluid's not moving the way it's supposed to. The nerves are going to be irritated. The lymph system is not going to drain properly. The eustachian tubes, the stuff that drains the inner ear, aren't going to open the way they should, so you're not going to get that drainage into the throat. And historically, in 35 years of practice with that type of presentation, obviously having ruled out other things, you can get tremendous results with a patient like this. Now, if there's ringing in the ears, if it's a high-pitched ringing, then you're going to talk about a liver function problem.
There's no ringing.
Okay, then we're talking about probably a structural problem that can be very nicely treated by chiropractic care.
Okay. I was thinking that, and I've been telling her that because last year you offered me help with my degenerative discs, and you suggested your Cox technique.
Yes.
And that has helped me tremendously in the past year.
Great, Diane. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and I told Mom I think I need to get her up to your office and and get that same help for you.
Love to have her come in and be more than happy to evaluate her.
Yeah, okay.
Diane, thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Susan, how can we help you?
I would like your help to let me know what happened. A week ago on Friday night, I had cramps in both of my legs, from the ankles to the end of my thighs, both in the front and the back. And the pain was so tremendous, I couldn't sleep all night. And I had to take aspirin, otherwise I couldn't sleep. And I wonder, what could it be?
Well, it could be a lot of things. Susan, did it just happen? You haven't had this problem before?
No.
Okay, and it didn't last? It went away?
No.
Or you still have it?
No, I had it for Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday I went to see the doctor.
Okay, and what did they tell you?
they told me that it was dehydration, and she told me, the doctor, to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water and to take a regular strength Tylenol.
Well, I set the Tylenol on the shelf, but your doctor could be right that it could be dehydration, particularly in this weather. One of the symptoms of muscle pain and ache throughout your whole body suddenly coming on from nowhere is dehydration. But what I would encourage you to do is you need to drink around 8 glasses of water a day without anything in it. If you drink coffee, you have to add more water. If you drink black tea, you have to add more water. If you drink soda, you have to add more water. But go get a little bit of sea salt. Not regular salt. Regular salt actually will make things worse. But get sea salt and just take a pinch and put a little bit of pinch about every 2 glasses of water. And not a lot. I really mean a pinch. And that should take care of it. If it's dehydration and you do that every day, the pain won't come back.
What about lack of potassium? You think this could be the reason?
The potassium, well, if you're dehydrated, the potassium, sodium, and magnesium are going to be out of balance. But you start with the water, and if you use the sea salt has potassium in it. And you see how you feel. If that takes care of it and the discomfort doesn't go back, then it's not a potassium problem by itself. So give it a try, Susan, and I think that will help. I think your doctor was right, but the Tylenol's not the answer.
Why? But the pain is so bad that I had to take it. I can't, and I have temperature.
Well, I understand that. What I'm saying, and temperature goes up with dehydration. That's when you have exposed to the heat that we have, and we're not staying cool enough, we don't have enough water in our body, you're giving me all the symptoms of dehydration. So give it a try, and I think that you'll do very, very well. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle. We're at 888-630-9625. We still have a couple people waiting on the line. We will get to you. I want to remind you that coming up very, very, very soon is Ageless Health 2011. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal experience. Those of you who've been there before know what I'm talking about. It's a day that if you're really serious about your health and you want to take charge in your health and you want to be in command, because health is a do-it-yourself program, then it's a day that you can't miss. It will be at the Fairview Park Marriott Hotel on September the 17th, a Saturday. And by the way, tickets are rapidly selling out. The VIP section is already sold out. We still have some priority seating left, and you go into rosellecare.com and you're going to find all the details. You're going to find the presentations my entire staff presents in the morning when you get there. On stage, you're going to see demonstrations on core training exercise, and then the event starts at 8 o'clock, and then we break so you can tour the vendors, and then we come back in, and then at noon we'll break for lunch, and we have a great outfit that's going to be supplying organic lunches for all of you. And on stage at noon will also be a demonstration on Tai Chi and Tai Chi Guan, and then we go back in the afternoon, and we go later on today. It's going to be a fantastic day. This is a day that I promise you, if you apply 1 or 2 things that we're going to present to you and you put them into your life, your energy, your vitality, your physical capacity are going to increase dramatically. There's just no way that it cannot. Not only that, but if you register, you're going to be entered into a $1,000 drawing, $1,000 free integrative health care that you can use and begin the process of turning your life around. Maximum vitality, maximum energy. What would it mean to you? What would it mean to be able to take control, get your life back, and not be dependent on drugs again? Over the years that we've been doing this, I think this is our 12th or 13th year now, we've had nothing but accolades. People who said amazed, wonderful, so glad that they were there. It was great. Well, go to our website, rosellecare.com, and register, because it's a day that you really, truly, truly cannot afford to miss. We want you there. Register soon. Debbie, how can I help you?
Yes, I had a question about excess calcium in the blood. What would cause it? What problems can it lead to?
How high is it?
It's actually my sister's, and I guess it's fairly high, and it's been that way for a couple of years.
Okay, that's not something that you let go. First thing that you look at is parathyroid function.
Okay.
When the parathyroids aren't working, those are the organ systems. There's 4 little glands that are one's embedded in each one of the lobes of the thyroid, and it controls calcium balance within the body. When the parathyroid begins to break down and is not working the way it's supposed to, one of the first symptoms that you're going to see is calcium being brought into the blood instead of into tissue. So your blood calcium levels are going to go up. It can cause a lot of different things, including heart failure, but also osteoporosis and degenerative disease throughout the whole system. So you have to rule that out first. There's other things. There's different types of bone degeneration problems that can come about. But when you see significantly high levels of calcium, now we're not talking about borderline. You start reading between the lines when it's just, kind of just outside the levels. But you repeat the test and you see what other things are there. But the first thing, absolutely, is parathyroid. Rule that out first, and then you start taking the next steps after that.
Okay. How do you check the parathyroid?
It's a blood test. It's real easy.
It's a blood test.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called a parathyroid cascade, and depends on what they find, they will do other different tests to determine where the problem is. If it comes back positive, then you would either do a CAT scan or an ultrasound. We'd probably do an ultrasound first to see if there's anything that's detectable. Based on that, because you're going to start ruling things out. You're going to rule cancers out. You're going to rule tumors out. You're going to rule physiology out. There's a lot of things that affect the parathyroid. There's a whole looping process that has to do with calcium metabolism. But before anything else, you have to rule out parathyroid dysfunction.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome, Deb. Thank you for calling. Appreciate it. 888-630-9625. Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You've been listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. We've been here for your attention at 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you every week on the things that you need to know about, the different processes that we can do to get you off of medication, off of drugs, off of the things that are really going to destroy your life when there's another way that your body truly is capable of resolving and turning almost anything around. Want to remind you, we would like you to look at the link that we have posted on our website, rosellecare.com. Go into the link and go down to the right-hand side margin, and there is an MTV special there, and it's called I'm Allergic to Everything, and it's about our treatment of a young girl. Let us know what you think about it. We think it's turned out absolutely fantastic, and we would love to have your feedback, your response to the same thing. Ongoing sponsor of Dr. Tom Roselle Live is Thermography Centers, and we'd like to let you know that you can go to the website at thermographycenters.com or call Dareth Painter at 703-943-7248, 703-943-7248, and incorporate thermographic imaging as part of your annual examination. Thermographic imaging picks up heat signals. So it is a primary indicator of inflammatory disease within the body. It shows the development of blood supply. Ladies, particularly with the initial stages of tumors or breast cancer, it has to start with the development of a blood supply where the tumor, where the cancer is going to start. So if you can pick that up way early, you know that there's a problem that's starting. You can do something about it before it becomes out of control. Thermography Centers, thermographycenters.com, or call 703-943-7248 and ask for Dareth Painter. I'm going to talk a little bit more about a couple things. I wish we had more time. This program should be 3 hours long, but it's not. So you have to get as much as you can. If you need to talk to me by Internet, you can do that also by going to rosellecare.com, and we'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. I will have somebody call you back, or I'll call you back if you want to call the office at 703-698-7117 and let us know, and we will get there. And if we don't know, we'll find out. Told you we would talk a little bit about iodine and what's going on in Japan, but we don't have a lot of time, but I'm just going to gently get into that. It's the Japanese experience with dietary iodine is significant. It's probably one of the things that is saving their behinds right now with the radiation leakage that we had in Japan, the meltdown. If it wasn't for iodine, a lot more people would be dying. And what I want you to know is that according to the Japanese Ministry of Health and Welfare, the average daily intake of seaweed is 4.6 grams at an average of 0.3% iodine content, and that's estimated daily iodine intake in that country. Japanese living in the coastal areas consume about 13.8 milligrams, which is really a very, very good thing, because they're going to have problems if they don't. There's several studies out there that relate the dietary intake to some very important thing. The Japanese are some of the healthiest people on the earth, and this good health is due to their ingestion of dietary iodine. The Japanese ingest dietary iodine in the amounts of 13.8 milligrams per day or more in many situations, and the Japanese experience no ill effect from ingestion of dietary iodine in the amounts of 13.8 milligrams or more per day. We could get into this for 2 hours, and it's fascinating, but the point of it is that what we found in our practice as well is that iodine is necessary for the prevention of cancers and just the perpetuation of general health. We're here every Sunday at 12 o'clock, bringing you the perspective of integrative care from a non-drug, non-surgical point of view. I will see you next week. As always, this is Dr. Tom Roselle. See you later. Bye. Health is a do-it-yourself program. That's reality and the title of my new book. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. Health is a do-it-yourself program is a most understandable introduction to natural health care. My book will take you step by step through why the body breaks down and gets sick, but also how it repairs itself. You will finally understand the often confusing world of natural care. Order it today by going to Amazon.com or from our website, RoselleCare.com. That's RoselleCare.com.
Did you know that routine mammograms can increase radiation exposure to breast tissue 1,000 times over a chest X-ray? Now consider a simple, non-invasive, and totally safe medical procedure approved by the FDA since 1982 that can detect breast cancer 5 to 8 years before it can be visualized on a mammogram. Infrared thermographic imaging can accurately detect the initial signs of breast cancer as increased blood supply and metabolic rate, which is recorded as heat. Why expose yourself to radiation when accurate and safe medical detection is available? Call the Thermography Center of Fairfax to schedule a breast exam today at 703-948-7248. That's 703-943-7248. For more information, visit www.thermographyscan.net. That's thermographyscan.net for the Thermography Center of Fairfax.
The Roselle Center for Healing is a proud supporter of breast cancer awareness and reminds you to conduct a monthly breast self-examination and a thermographic breast scan as part of your annual wellness checkup.